Welcome, everyone, to another edition of the Daily Knight. I am your host, Brian Smith, and I'm also the publisher at Inside the Knights on Fan Nation, powered by Sports Illustrated. And today I'm going to talk a little bit about where UCF stands with the transfer portal, and I'm going to get rid of some of the misconception that's out there about these so-called rankings that are out. And I don't know where this came from, but I saw it on Twitter. Somebody asked in a post that I'd put up in regards to Hudson coming to UCF, just a question. And it was totally fair. Why is UCF ranked 40th? I have no idea who came up with those numbers, but a couple of quick things about recruiting rankings and how they relate to transfer portal. And this is one man's opinion. Keep that in mind. But with recruiting rankings, Rivals, 24/7, On3, ESPN, any other edition that you can think of, each player is given a number and they just add them up. It's the generic way to do it. They know it's not necessarily the best, but it keeps them out of some awkward situations. We talk as recruiting analysts on the trail when we run into each other. When a great player at a certain position goes to school X instead of school Y, it changes their value, but you're not going to talk about that. But the reason it changes the value is the coach at school X is 10 times better than the school Y, and we know they're going to maximize it. I can't publish that. Well, I mean, I could, and so could other guys, and I do sometimes because I don't really care what people think, but they don't want to burn bridges. It's just true. So keep that in mind in general. With that said, it's the same principle with the transfer portal with an extra point of emphasis. Here's the big deal. You need to fill needs. Gus Malzahn has said to us in the media here locally with UCF a couple of times, and he's dead on, that if you lose a guy, you got to replace him. It's straightforward. And you always want to upgrade your talent. Do you get a fit, etc.? To that end, and I use 24/7 quite a bit, just like their database, just to make sure I spell kids' names right and don't get them wrong, etc. Not everything is always updated. Those databases and the people that input information, God love them. It is incredibly tedious, awful, etc. And with over 1,000 players in the database, that's not fun. And then now there's over 1,000 kids in the transfer portal. It's insane. So things aren't going to be accurate all the time. It's impossible. It is literally never ending. So now that all of that is out of the way, look at it from the following perspective instead of, okay, like USF has really done a good job. For instance, they have like 10 kids or whatever from the portal. They did a great job. One of the reasons they did is they did a terrible job with high school kids. There's no nice way to say that. They didn't do a very good job. They got some talent, but nowhere near what they thought they were going to get. I guarantee you. They got their butts kicked in state. They just flat out did. They did a nice job of getting guys to come back home to the greater Tampa area from Maryland, from Wake Forest, etc. I know some of the kids, good kids. You are not going to build a roster just with a portal or just with high school anymore. You need to go into other realms. Even Notre Dame is delving into it, which is surprising. Some of those kind of schools, Alabama, they do. UCF is the model, in my opinion, of what a school can do. And there's some others too, not just UCF, but they're a model of what you can do. About a third of the guys they're going to take, whether it's recruiting high school or junior college or the portal, will come from the portal, give or take. There could be one or two because it depends on who else leaves. Remember, the portal never ends. So somebody else could leave here soon. Who knows? Then UCF replaces. UCF is in a position based on the following players that I'm about to go over, though, to get to where they need to, and they haven't wasted scholarships. That's the other part of the portal. Remember me mentioning numbers? Well, if you sign a player and his value is X and it's still pretty low, he's still awarded that one scholarship. Everybody gets one whole scholarship. But if you don't waste a scholarship on a guy that actually raises the number on Rivals or whatever, even though your ranking doesn't go up, it helps your program. In other words, don't just give a scholarship to give it because it's an experienced player. You have to take players that are going to help your program. That's it. I would rather you take 8 that help than take 12 guys and 6 of them help and the others are just kind of like special teams guys. Let the freshmen do that. Let the walk-ons do that. Like Texas A&M's famous 12th man. Wearing number 12 at A&M means something because it's the 12th man, the guy that comes off the bench or whatever and helps out, comes out of the stands. It's an old tradition, but it has a symbolization for this as well. You need to find different ways to make it work. You want to get 85 scholarships for football, and you may think, oh, it's a ton. These are developmental players because they're college. They are not professional. So every scholarship counts. So if UCF ends up with, let's say, 9 guys, 10, let's just make 10. Math is easier overall for the transfer portal, and 8 of them are hits. I would rather have that than some of these schools who are grab bagging right now, boosting their ranking. I know that's not necessarily what their intent is, but boosting their ranking, but only 5 or 6 hit. Due diligence. Does the player fit? Does that young man want to really be at your institution? Or is he just, I'm going to be the man somewhere? There are so many factors. What are the parents like? Are they helicopter parents? Yes, that matters a lot. Believe me, college coaches and I have those conversations. They're not very friendly, by the way, and it changes who does and who does not get offers. So talent over numbers, filling needs, and then a big one that I'll talk about here in a second, getting the guy, which is Terrence. And then they have to continue to fill out as spring practice concludes. There'll be more kids enter the portal. It's inevitable. UCF will probably lose somebody, almost inevitable. And then you fill accordingly. UCF out of the 4 slots is good on 3. And we're only in mid-January. This is going to work out well. Just keep that in mind. This is going to work out well. So here's the deal. UCF has the following players that are already transferred. Kobe Hudson, who just transferred, I'm sure most people know, receiver out of Auburn. Very good. Ryan Swoboda, offensive tackle, 2-year starter at Virginia for one of the best offenses in college football. Coming back home to Orlando, played at Windermere Prep. Very good football player. Plumlee, that kid can fly. They're going to find a role for him. I don't know if he's going to be the starting quarterback or what's going to happen. They upgraded the roster with Plumlee. Then you have McDaniel. He's an edge rusher. He could play down if he needed to in a 3-man line or a 4-man line. He can play up. Versatile player. He will contribute as well. Terrence, as I'll get to momentarily, he's a stud. And then they got Grable, offensive tackle, kind of a late bloomer. It was like 250-ish, give or take, coming out of high school. Now he's around 300 pounds. He can be an offensive tackle and possibly be a starter next year. Not one kid out of that group do I go, where's he going to fit in at? Not one. That's how you utilize the transfer portal. So with that, they needed a receiver to play boundary. Hudson can do it. He could play any of the 3. I could do a whole podcast just about Hudson, and I might, after I see him in spring, I want to see what he does, how he is adjusted. He knows some of Gus's offense, et cetera, because he played for him. I want to see Swoboda, et cetera, as well. But they needed a tackle. They go get it. They get another one. They're set. They can move Jackson inside if they wanted now. Jackson even played some center in bowl prep. I mean, he's a really good athletic player, and he's a 6-year senior. Their line's going to be good, really good this next year, and they're going to be able to run the ball down people's throats. That's awesome. Good for UCF. Filling needs. Next, McDaniel. They lost Big Cat. You're not going to just completely replace him. I get it. They went out and got a couple of high school kids that are really good. They got McDaniel. That's one heck of a start. They could take another guy, but edge rushers are at a premium. You're recruiting against Alabama and Georgia there. That's tough. We'll see. I don't know who it would be because, again, the portal is never ending. So there could be somebody tomorrow that transfers out of a school like Ohio State. Don't laugh. It is plausible. Today it's about me, so kids are looking for opportunity more than the brand. The logo on the shirt is nice, but it's the bonus. Kids do not pick schools because of the logo. They pick schools because the logo can get them to the NFL. And they pick them because of coaches specifically that they think can get them to the NFL based on the logo. So with that, you got Terrence Lewis. If he doesn't start, it's on Terrence because he is a freak of nature. If you have not seen Terrence Lewis's film from high school, do it. Make it an effort today, period. I'm not going to go into it any more than that, but he is not your normal football player. He is extremely versatile. And then you have Grable, who I'm really excited to see. Most people aren't excited about offensive tackles, but he fits the brand that I like, the style that I like with offensive linemen. And that's a guy that worked his way up. He was at Jacksonville State. He could have went to some Power 5 schools. He went to UCF a year ahead of them going to Power 5. He has the frame and the athleticism to be one and done. I mean, I don't know how good his technique's going to be and all that. Need to see it. But his athleticism is true. They have a chance there. Again, this goes back to the overall point. Filling needs. Filling needs. Here's a question for you. Would you rather have a balanced group of recruits where you don't have a hole, or would you have a few more recruits maybe in a class with a couple super high guys, but you got a hole at a key spot like D end, let's say? Me, I'm going to take the former each and every time, which is what UCF has done, because then your coaching staff can work around that without having to worry about the albatross. Teams will find your weakness and expose them play after play after play, which mitigates the talent that you have at other spots. For instance, Hudson playing on the boundary. Now, who are you going to go ahead and defend with two guys? Because all three of the receivers are good. You're going to double O'Keefe, Jalen Robinson, or Hudson. It's almost impossible to double the boundary for a lot of schematical reasons, but technically you can. You put yourself in a real bind. Jalen is my guess because he's the outside receiver. That's the normal answer. Good luck, because then Hudson and O'Keefe are single. And then you have Bowser with a 5 or 6 man box. UCF's going to score some points next year. They've balanced their roster through the portal. I'm going to wrap this up on that, but just note that the rankings for all the stuff in regards to whether or not UCF's doing good, wait a little bit on that and just use your own logic. And on their side of things, whichever one it was, I don't know who had UCF 40th or whatever, I could care less. It's changing constantly. And they also, I mean, it's almost impossible to keep up for whatever reason. And they need to change this. The kid from Arizona who did not transfer to UCF is listed on 24/7 and they never took it off. They were behind. So also keep that in mind. Brian Smith signing off. Make sure you check out and make sure you look through some of these. There's a lot of transfer portal information in the last 2-3 weeks in particular on the Daily Night, and FGA report also on my YouTube page. There's a lot of information there as well. And you can find me on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, etc., wherever you're at. So everybody have a great day. Take care.